The war room fell silent as Fleet Commander Thalen Vex entered. His scaled skin gleamed under the cold lights of the command ship. Behind him, the stars stretched endlessly through the massive viewport. He had destroyed 164 worlds. Each one had fallen before his fleet like grass under a blade. Thalen moved to the central hologram table. His officers stood at attention around it. They were the finest warriors of the Vraxian Empire, chosen from 1,000 conquered systems. Each wore the medals of countless battles. Each had killed more beings than they could count. "Show me the target," Thalen commanded. The hologram flickered to life. A small blue planet appeared, spinning slowly in the projection. It looked peaceful. Water covered most of its surface. White clouds swirled in gentle patterns. 3 large landmasses broke through the blue. A single moon orbited nearby. "This is Earth," his intelligence officer said, "third planet from its sun. The dominant species calls themselves humans. They have spread across most of the planet's surface. Population approximately 8 billion. Thalen circled the hologram. His eyes studied every detail. This was how he had won 164 times before. Know your enemy. Know their world. Know their weaknesses. Military capability? He asked. Primitive, the intelligence officer replied. They have nuclear weapons but limited delivery systems. Their space presence is minimal. A few satellites, a small station orbiting their planet. No defensive fleet. No planetary shields. Another officer stepped forward. This was his second in command, a veteran of 80 campaigns. "Commander, there is something unusual in the data." Thalen turned to face him. "Speak." "Our deep scans detected strange energy signatures near their moon. The patterns are inconsistent with their technology level, and there are similar readings from their ocean depths." Thalen studied the data on a side screen. The readings flickered and jumped. Strange patterns that appeared and disappeared. He had seen anomalies before. Every world had its mysteries. None of them had mattered. "Could be natural phenomena," Thalen said, "or experimental technology they're testing. It changes nothing. Sir, I recommend we send a probe first. Gather more information before—" "No." Thalen's voice cut through the air like a blade. "We have destroyed civilizations far more advanced than this one. Look at their cities. Look at their armies. They are children playing with fire. We will jump into orbit in 72 hours. Prepare the fleet." The officers saluted and dispersed. Only his second remained. "You disagree," Thalen said. "It was not a question." "I am cautious, Commander. This system sits in an unusual position. No other intelligent life within 50 light years. Yet the humans evolved here, alone, isolated, that is, rare." Thalen turned back to the hologram. The blue planet spun peacefully. Perhaps they were simply lucky. Or perhaps every other species in this region destroyed themselves. Either way, in 3 days Earth will be ours, just like the 164 before it. Far below, on the surface of that blue planet, Dr. Hyunwoo sat in his laboratory. Screens surrounded him, each showing different data streams from satellites and deep space monitors. He was an astrophysicist, one of the best in South Korea. For 10 years, he had been searching the stars for signs of intelligent life. Tonight, he had found something. The readings had appeared 6 hours ago. His computer had flagged them as anomalous. At first, Hyunwoo thought it was a malfunction. But the data was consistent across multiple satellites. Something was coming. Something massive. He ran the calculations again. His hand shook as he typed. The numbers were impossible. The energy signatures suggested hundreds of ships. Large ships, moving faster than anything humanity had ever built. They were approaching from outside the solar system. Current trajectory would bring them to Earth in approximately 72 hours. Hyunwoo reached for his phone. His hand hesitated over the contact list. Who would believe him? He needed more proof, more data. But if he was right, every hour mattered. He called his colleague instead.
Jiwon answered on the third ring. "Do you know what time it is?"
Jiwon's voice was thick with sleep. "I need you to look at something now. It's urgent." 15 minutes later, Jiwon arrived at the laboratory. Her hair was messy and she wore a jacket over her pajamas. But her eyes were sharp and alert. She was an engineer, specializing in satellite systems and deep space detection. Hyunwoo showed her the data. She studied it in silence for 5 minutes. Then 10. Her expression grew more serious with each passing moment. "This can't be right," she finally said. "That's what I thought, but I've checked everything. The readings are real." Jiwon pulled up another screen. "Look at this." The satellites aren't just detecting these ships. They're detecting something else, something activating. What do you mean? Earth's defensive satellites. The ones we use for monitoring space debris and tracking asteroids. They're activating systems we didn't know they had. Look at the power readings. They're drawing energy from, I don't know what. It's not from their solar panels. Hyunwoo leaned closer. She was right. All across Earth's orbit, satellites were powering up. Systems that didn't appear in any technical manual were coming online. Energy was flowing into them from no visible source. We need to contact the Global Defense Network, Hyunwoo said. And tell them what? That alien ships are coming and our satellites are doing things we can't explain. They'll think we're crazy. Then we show them the data. All of it, let them decide. Ji-won looked at the screens again. The ships were still coming. The satellites were still activating. And somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, another energy signature had appeared. This one was different, older, stronger. There's something else, she said quietly. I've been running pattern analysis on these new satellite systems. They're not human technology. The architecture is all wrong. Someone else built these systems. Or something else. Hyunwoo felt a chill run down his spine. How is that possible? We built those satellites. We launched them. We built the outer shells. The basic systems. But these new systems, they were already there, hidden inside, waiting. Waiting for what? Ji-won pointed at the approaching fleet on the screen. Maybe waiting for that. They worked through the night, compiling data and preparing their report. By morning, they had enough evidence to convince anyone. The ships were real. The mysterious systems were real, and Earth was about to face something it had never faced before. As the sun rose over the laboratory, Hyunwoo sent the report to every major defense network on the planet. Within hours, alarms were sounding in military bases across the world. Scientists were called from their homes. Politicians were woken in the middle of the night, and in space, 500 Vraxian warships crossed the orbit of Mars. They encountered no resistance. No warnings. No defenders. Thalen Vex smiled. This would be victory number 165. The Vraxian fleet moved through the darkness like a swarm of metal predators. 500 warships, each one the size of a small city. Their hulls were scarred from countless battles. Their weapons had turned planets to ash, and now they drifted past Mars, heading toward the small blue world that hung in the distance. Thalen Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship. Through the viewport, Earth grew larger with each passing hour. It looked so fragile, so vulnerable. He had seen thousands of worlds, but something about this one caught his attention. The blue was so pure, the clouds so white. It looked like a jewel floating in the void. Still no response to our hails? He asked. Nothing, Commander, his communications officer replied. We have broadcast on all frequencies. Standard surrender demands. Threats of orbital bombardment. Complete silence from the surface, Thalen frowned. Most species responded immediately. Some with defiance, some with pleas for mercy, some with desperate attempts to negotiate. But silence was unusual. Silence suggested either complete ignorance or complete confidence. Do they not have the technology to hear us? They do, sir. We've detected their communications networks. Radio, satellite transmissions, internet data streams. They are technologically capable of receiving and responding to our broadcasts. His second-in-command approached. Perhaps they are preparing their defenses, gathering their forces. What forces? Thalen gestured at the tactical display. They have no orbital fleet. Their weapons are surface-based. Even their most powerful nuclear weapons would barely scratch our shields. What defense could they possibly prepare? On Earth's surface, that question was being asked in 1,000 different places. In Geneva, President Dae-ho sat at the head of a table surrounded by world leaders. Their faces appeared on screens from every corner of the planet. Some looked terrified, some looked angry, all looked desperate. We have 48 hours until they reach Earth orbit, President Dae-ho said. Our military advisors tell me we have no conventional defense against a fleet of this size. Our nuclear arsenal might destroy a few ships, but we would also devastate our own planet in the process. The Russian premier leaned forward. What about the anomalies Dr. Hyunwoo reported? The satellite systems activating on their own. President Dae-ho turned to General Tae-yang, who stood at attention beside the table. The general was a tall man with gray hair and hard eyes. He had served in the military for 40 years, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for this. General, please brief the council on what we've discovered. General Tae Yang activated a holographic display. Images of Earth's satellites appeared, along with detailed technical readouts. 72 hours ago, systems within our satellite network began activating without authorization. These systems do not appear in any of our technical specifications. They were not part of the original designs. As far as we can determine, they have been hidden within our satellites since they were first launched. That's impossible, the Chinese premier said. We built those satellites. We would have noticed foreign technology. That's what we thought, General Tae Yang replied. But the evidence is clear. Someone or something integrated this technology into our satellites without our knowledge. And that's not all. He changed the display. Now it showed a map of the Pacific Ocean. A bright point of light pulsed in the center, deep beneath the waves. 6 days ago this appeared. It's located 4,000 meters below the surface. The structure is massive, approximately 50 kilometers in diameter. It's generating enormous amounts of energy, but we can't identify the source. And it's old. Very old. How old? President Daeho asked. Our best estimates suggest millions of years. Maybe more. Silence filled the room. Everyone stared at the pulsing light on the map. Are you telling us, the British Prime Minister said slowly, that there is an ancient alien structure beneath the Pacific Ocean, and we never knew about it? Until it activated, it was completely dormant. No energy signature. No heat, no radiation. It was invisible to all our sensors. Now it's very much active, and it's connected to the satellite network. President Daeho rubbed his temples. What does it want? What is it doing? We don't know, but there's someone who might be able to help us understand. A communications specialist named Minji. She's been studying the energy patterns coming from the structure. Minji was brought into the meeting via video link. She looked young, perhaps 30 years old, with short black hair and tired eyes. She had not slept in 2 days. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Minji, President Daeho said. Please tell us what you've discovered. Minji pulled up her own set of data. The structure is transmitting, not in any language we recognize, but in mathematical patterns, quantum transmissions that phase in and out of normal space. I've been trying to decode them, and the patterns are instructions, or maybe protocols. They're being sent to the satellites telling them what to do. But here's what's strange. The transmissions don't originate from the structure itself. They originate from Earth's core. The planet's core, General Tae Yang said. That's impossible. I thought so too. But the data is clear. Something at the center of our planet is communicating with the structure, and both are communicating with the satellites. It's like they're all parts of the same system, a system that covers the entire Earth. President Daeho leaned back in his chair. A defense system? Maybe, or maybe something else. The transmission started exactly when the alien fleet entered our solar system. As if the system was waiting. As if it knew they were coming. In space, Thalen Vex was growing impatient. Earth hung before him like a ripe fruit, and still the humans refused to respond. It was an insult. A challenge he would not tolerate. Bring us into high orbit, he commanded. Prepare weapons. Sir, his science officer called out. I'm detecting unusual readings from the planet's moon. What kind of readings? Gravitational anomalies. Small at first, but growing. And there's something else. Energy spikes across the planet's orbital space. They're appearing and disappearing randomly. Thalen moved to the science station. The readings were indeed strange. Little pockets of distorted space-time appearing for a few seconds and then vanishing. They seemed random, but there were hundreds of them now. Thousands. Natural phenomenon? Thalen asked. I don't think so, sir. The pattern is too regular. Too precise. It's like something is testing the fabric of space around the planet. Thalen's second-in-command spoke quietly. Sir, I strongly recommend we pause our approach. These readings are not normal. We have faced strange phenomena before, Thalen said. Remember the crystal worlds of Andor? Their entire planet was covered in sentient minerals that generated electromagnetic pulses. We adapted and conquered them. We will adapt here too. Commander, with respect, this is different. These readings— Enough! Thalen's voice was hard. We did not come this far to be frightened by unusual sensor data. We will proceed as planned. Prepare to demonstrate our power. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their moon. I want a demonstration strike. Something that will make the humans understand the futility of resistance. Fire a medium-yield plasma torpedo. Let them watch their moon burn. The weapons officer hesitated. Sir, the moon is a natural satellite. Destroying it could have catastrophic effects on the planet's tides and climate. That's the point. Fire. The officer obeyed. On the tactical display, a bright point of light appeared as the torpedo launched from the flagship. It streaked through space, accelerating toward the gray surface of Earth's moon. The weapon carried enough energy to vaporize a mountain. It would leave a crater visible from the planet's surface. It would make the message clear, but the torpedo never reached its target. Halfway to the moon, the weapon simply vanished. One moment it was there on every sensor. The next moment it was gone. No explosion, no debris, no energy signature. It was as if the weapon had been erased from existence. Report, Thalen shouted. His science officer worked frantically at his console. I don't understand. The torpedo just disappeared. It entered one of those gravitational anomalies and ceased to exist. Fire again. Different trajectory. Another torpedo launched. This one took a different path, avoiding the area where the first had vanished. But the same thing happened. As it approached the moon, space itself seemed to ripple and the weapon was gone. Thalen fired 3 more times. 3 more torpedoes vanished. On Earth, Hyunwoo and Jiwon watched their screens in amazement. Did you see that? Jiwon whispered. The satellites. They created some kind of spatial distortion. The weapons just disappeared into it. Not just the satellites, Hyunwoo said, pointing at another display. Look at the structure in the Pacific. Its energy output spiked right before each weapon vanished. It's coordinating the defense, but how? We didn't activate it. We don't even know how it works. Hyunwoo's face was pale. I don't think we're supposed to know. I think it's been here all along, waiting. And now it's protecting us, and from what? He pointed at the screen showing the Vraxian fleet. From them. Thalen Vex stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 5 torpedoes, 5 of his most powerful weapons, all gone, vanished into nothing. In 164 conquests, he had never seen anything like this. Analysis, he demanded. His science officer's hands moved rapidly across the console. Data scrolled past on multiple screens. Commander, the gravitational anomalies are multiplying. They're appearing throughout our fleet formation. Whatever is creating them, it's surrounding us. Thalen looked through the viewport. With his own eyes, he could see nothing unusual. Just the black of space and the distant stars. But his instruments told a different story. Space itself was becoming unstable around his fleet. How many anomalies? Over 10,000 now, sir. And growing exponentially. They're small, only a few meters across, but they're appearing between our ships, around our ships. If we try to move forward, we'll have to navigate through them. Can we? The science officer hesitated. I don't know what happens if a ship touches one. Based on what happened to our torpedoes, I wouldn't recommend it. Thalen's second in command stepped closer. Sir, we should withdraw. Reassess the situation from a safe distance. For the first time in decades, Thalen felt something he had almost forgotten. Not fear, exactly, but doubt. This small primitive world was defending itself with technology he didn't understand. Technology that could erase matter from existence. Attempt to establish communication again, Thalen ordered. I want to speak to whoever is controlling this defense system. On Earth, President Daeho received the transmission personally. The alien commander's face appeared on screens around the world. Thalen Vex looked almost human, if humans had scaled skin and eyes that glowed with a faint amber light. Humans of Earth, Thalen's voice came through the speakers. I am Fleet Commander Thalen Vex of the Vraxian Empire. You have demonstrated unusual defensive capabilities. I respect strength. Let us negotiate terms of your surrender. You cannot win this fight, but you can save lives by submitting peacefully. President Daeho looked at General Taeyang. The general shook his head slightly. They had no control over the defense system. They couldn't surrender even if they wanted to. This is President Daeho of Earth. Commander Vex, we did not activate the defensive systems you encountered. We don't control them. We don't even fully understand them. Through the screen, Thalen's expression changed. Confusion, then suspicion. You claim your own planet's defenses are not under your command? That's correct. We discovered them only days ago when your fleet entered our solar system. They appear to be autonomous. Thalen was quiet for a moment. Then who built them? We don't know. But they're old. Very old. Millions of years, we think. Thalen turned to his science officer, speaking in his own language. The translator AI picked up his words. Could it be a remnant system? Something left by a dead civilization? Possibly, sir. We've encountered automated defenses before, but never on this scale. And never this sophisticated. Thalen looked back at the screen. President Deho, I will give you 12 hours to disable these defenses. If you cannot do so, I will assume you are lying and I will destroy your planet. We have weapons that can crack continents. We have weapons that can boil your oceans. Find a way to shut down your defenses or face extinction. The transmission ended. The screens went dark. Can we shut them down? President Deho asked. General Tae-Yang looked grim. We've been trying since they activated. We have no access, no control interface, nothing. It's like trying to shut down the sun. What about the structure in the Pacific? Can we reach it? We've sent submersibles. They can't get close. There's some kind of barrier around it. Our vessels just stop working when they approach. Engines die. Electronics fail. We've lost 3 subs already. President Deho turned to the screen showing Minji. What about the transmissions you've been studying? Can we communicate with the system? Minji shook her head. I've tried everything. The system isn't listening to us. It's only responding to the alien fleet. It's like we're invisible to it. Then we're helpless, President Deho said quietly. We can't stop our own defense system, and we can't stop the alien fleet. We can only watch. In the International Space Station, Captain Jae-hee floated near the observation window. He had the best view of anyone on or near Earth. From here, he could see the Vraxian fleet clearly, 500 ships hanging in space like dark clouds. He could also see something else, something the people on the ground couldn't see. The anomalies were growing. What had started as small ripples in space were becoming larger, more visible. They looked like tears in reality, edges where space seemed to fold in on itself. And they were beautiful. They glowed with a soft blue light, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. Ground control, Jae-hee said into his radio. You need to see this. He activated the station's external cameras, sending a live feed to Earth. Scientists around the world watched as the anomalies grew and spread. They were forming a pattern now, a web of light surrounding the planet. Ji-won pulled up the data on her screen. It's a net, she breathed. The system is building a net around Earth, and the alien fleet is inside it. Hyunwoo ran calculations frantically. The energy requirements for this are insane. Where is it all coming from? The planet's core, Minji said through the video link. The transmissions are getting stronger. The structure in the Pacific is drawing power directly from Earth's magnetic field. From the planet's rotation, from everything. Is that safe? Someone asked. Could it damage the planet? I don't know, but I don't think the system cares. It has one purpose: protect Earth from the threat. Nothing else matters to it. In space, Thalen Vex finally gave the order he had been avoiding. All ships prepare to retreat were leaving Earth orbit. His second-in-command looked relieved. Yes, sir. Shall I order a jump to hyperspace? Do it. Get us out of here. Throughout the fleet, 500 ships began charging their jump drives. These were the same systems that had carried them across the galaxy. The same systems that had allowed them to conquer 164 worlds. Engines that could tear a hole in space itself and step through to another location light years away. The drives charged. Power built up. Energy levels climbed toward the jump threshold, and then nothing happened. Report, Thalen said. His voice was calm, but his hands gripped the edge of his command console. Sir, the jump drives won't engage. We're at full power, but the space-time field isn't forming. It's like space is too thick, too resistant. Explain. I can't, sir. The physics don't make sense. It's as if the fabric of space around us has become solid. We can't punch through it. Thalen's second-in-command checked his own console. Sir, I'm reading gravitational changes. The anomalies are generating massive gravitational fields, not strong enough to damage our ships directly, but strong enough to prevent hyperspace jumps. Then we use normal propulsion. All ships, maximum speed, heading away from Earth. We'll clear the anomaly field and then jump. The fleet began to move. 500 warships turned away from Earth and accelerated. Their engines burned bright in the darkness, pushing them away from the blue planet and its mysterious defenses. But they weren't moving away. Despite their engines running at full power, the ships were slowly drifting closer to Earth. "We're being pulled," the science officer said. His voice shook slightly. "The gravitational field is pulling us toward the planet. That's impossible. Earth doesn't have enough mass to—" "It's not Earth's gravity, sir, it's the anomalies. They're generating artificial gravity fields, and they're pulling us in." Thalen watched his tactical display as the truth became clear. The web of light wasn't just a defense, it was a trap, and his entire fleet was caught in it. All ships, emergency maneuvers, full reverse thrust, divert all power to engines. The fleet tried to break free. Engines screamed at maximum output. Ships that could cross solar systems in days now struggled to move meters, and still they drifted slowly toward Earth. Inside the ships, panic began to spread. Vraxian warriors who had never known fear now felt it growing in their hearts. Officers shouted orders. Crew members ran to their stations. Alarms blared through the corridors. And on Earth, people watched the night sky as 500 stars began to fall slowly toward them. Hyunwoo stood outside his laboratory, looking up. The alien ships were visible now, bright points of light moving against the stars. But they weren't attacking. They were trying to escape. "The system is hunting them," Jiwon said beside him. "It's not just defending, it's actively pulling them in." "But why? If it just wanted to protect Earth, it could have kept them away. Why drag them closer?" Jiwon didn't answer. She didn't have an answer. None of them did. In the Pacific Ocean, the ancient structure pulsed with light. Energy flowed through channels that had been dark for millions of years. Systems activated that had waited eons for this moment. Deep beneath the waves, something ancient and patient was finally fulfilling its purpose. And in space, Thalen Vex stood on his bridge and watched his flagship drift helplessly toward the blue planet below. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he understood what his victims must have felt: helplessness, terror, and the certain knowledge that death was coming. The first ship began to die at 0300 hours Earth time. It was a destroyer on the outer edge of the Vraxian fleet. Captain Jaehee watched from the space station as the vessel's lights started to flicker. Then slowly the hull began to peel away. Metal separated from metal. Components drifted apart, but there was no explosion. No violence. The ship simply came apart piece by piece as if invisible hands were carefully disassembling it. "Ground control, are you seeing this?" Jaehee's voice was barely a whisper. In laboratories and command centers around the world, people watched in horror and fascination. The destroyer was being taken apart at the molecular level. Every piece, every component, every atom was being separated and cataloged. It was surgical, precise, and utterly terrifying. Within 5 minutes, the destroyer was gone. Where a ship had been, now there was only a cloud of loose particles drifting in space. But the particles weren't spreading randomly. They were being drawn toward something. Toward the blue light of the anomalies. "The system is feeding," Subin said. She was an engineer on the space station, working alongside Captain Jaehee. "It's breaking down the ships and converting them into energy. Look at the readings. Every particle from that destroyer is being absorbed into the gravitational field." On Earth, Hyunwoo pulled up detailed scans of the process. "It's not just destruction, it's conversion. Matter to energy. Perfect efficiency. No waste, no debris. The ship isn't being destroyed, it's being harvested." A second ship began to come apart, then a third. The process was spreading through the fleet like a disease. Ships on the outer edges dissolved first, their matter feeding the growing web of light around Earth. Thalen Vex watched from his flagship as his fleet died around him. Ships that had fought 100 battles. Ships that had survived plasma storms and black hole encounters. All of them coming apart like paper and water. "Can we fight it?" he asked his science officer. "Can we disrupt the process?" "I don't know how, sir. It's working at the quantum level. Breaking molecular bonds. There's no weapon we have that can counter this. Thalen turned to his communications officer. Send a message to all ships. Abandon ship. Get everyone into escape pods. Get them away from the fleet. Sir, the escape pods use the same jump drives as the ships. They won't be able to leave the gravitational field. Then at least they'll buy time. Do it. Throughout the fleet, alarms sounded. Vraxian warriors abandoned their posts and ran for the escape pods. Thousands of small craft ejected from dying ships, spreading out into space. For a moment it looked like it might work. The pods were small and fast. Maybe they could slip through the net. But the anomalies adjusted. The web of light shifted, expanding to cover the escape pods. And one by one they began to dissolve too. Smaller than the warships, they came apart even faster. Thalen closed his eyes. 200,000 Vraxian warriors. His warriors. All dying because he had been too arrogant to listen to warnings. Too proud to retreat when he had the chance. Sir, his second-in-command said quietly, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. Put it through. President Deho's face appeared on the screen. He looked older than he had hours before, tired, haunted. Commander Vex, we are trying to stop this. Please believe me. We have sent teams to the structure in the Pacific. We have tried every way we know to communicate with the defense system. We are not your enemy. We don't want this, Thalen opened his eyes. But you can't stop it. No, we can't. Then perhaps you can answer a question. Why does your planet have this defense system? Who built it? And why did they build it specifically to kill my people? President Deho shook his head. We don't know. We're trying to find out. Then let me tell you what I think, Thalen said. This is not a random defense. This is targeted, specific. I have destroyed 164 worlds. I have faced every kind of weapon and defense imaginable, but I have never seen anything like this. This system was built to fight the Vraxian Empire. Or something like us. Someone knew we were coming. Someone prepared for us. On Earth, Minji listened to Thalen's words. She sat in her laboratory, surrounded by screens showing the quantum transmissions from Earth's core. For days she had been trying to decode the patterns. Now hearing Thalen's theory, something clicked in her mind. He's right, she said aloud. She pulled up her analysis and ran a new set of calculations. Oh no, he's right. She opened a channel to President Deho. Sir, I need to speak to you immediately. And to the Vraxian commander. I think I know what's happening. Minutes later, Minji's face appeared on screens in both the command center on Earth and Thalen's bridge. I've been analyzing the quantum transmissions, she said. I thought they were random data. Instructions for the defense system. But they're not. They're genetic markers, DNA sequences. The system is scanning the Vraxian fleet and comparing it to a genetic database stored in Earth's core. What database? President Deho asked. A database of enemies, species that were marked as threats millions of years ago. And Commander Vex, your people's genetic signature matches something in that database, something called the Karleth. Thalen's expression changed. That's impossible. The Karleth are ancient history, a myth, a story we tell children about our glorious ancestors who conquered the stars. Not a myth, Minji said. They were real. And millions of years ago they destroyed another civilization. A civilization that built this defense system before they died. They seeded it across multiple worlds. Earth is just one of them, a trap, waiting for the descendants of the Karleth to return. Silence filled both rooms. Everyone processed the implications. You're saying, Thalen said slowly, that my entire species has been hunted across time, that extinct aliens created a weapon specifically designed to kill us, and they hid it on this planet, waiting for us to arrive. Yes, and not just Earth. I'm detecting similar energy signatures in the database. Coordinates. Other planets where the same system was installed. The 164 worlds you conquered, Commander. How many of them were in this database? Thalen pulled up his fleet's star charts. He compared them to the coordinates Minji was showing. His hands shook as he counted. All of them, he whispered. Every single world we conquered is on this list. We weren't expanding randomly. We were following a path that led us here. His second-in-command stared at the data. Sir, it's like we were herded. Every victory led us to the next target. And every target led us closer to Earth. 164 steps, Thalen said. 164 worlds. All leading to this trap. On Earth, G1 looked at Hyunwoo. The system didn't activate randomly when the fleet arrived. It was waiting for this specific genetic signature, for the descendants of the species that destroyed its creators. This isn't defense. It's revenge. Revenge across millions of years, Hyunwoo said. They lost the war. Their civilization was destroyed, but they made sure their enemies would pay eventually. In the Pacific Ocean, the ancient structure continued its work. Energy flowed. Matter was converted. The web of light grew stronger, and deep in its core, in quantum channels that existed halfway between dimensions, a message repeated endlessly. It was not in any human language. Not in any modern language at all, but Minji's computers slowly translated it. For the Karleth who destroyed us, for the murders of our children, for the burning of our worlds. This is our final gift, our last weapon, our eternal vengeance. You will come. You will find the worlds we have prepared, and when you reach the final world, when you stand at the height of your power and pride, we will take everything from you. As you took everything from us. The message had been repeating for 3 million years, waiting, patient, knowing that eventually, the descendants of the Karleth would follow the trail and arrive at Earth. Thalen read the translated message. He laughed bitterly. We were so proud. 164 victories. We thought we were unstoppable. We never realized we were just following a path to our own execution. More ships were coming apart now. The process was accelerating. Matter flowed into the anomalies, converted to pure energy, feeding the system that would end the Vraxian Empire. How many ships have we lost? Thalen asked. 147, sir. 353 remaining. How long until the process reaches this flagship? 8 hours. Maybe less. Thalen looked at Earth through the viewport. The blue planet hung there, beautiful and deadly. The perfect trap. Open a channel, he said. I want to send a message to the Vraxian home world. To the Empire. To everyone. When the channel was open, Thalen spoke clearly and calmly. This is Fleet Commander Thalen Vex. My fleet has encountered a weapon system on the planet Earth. This system was designed specifically to destroy the Vraxian species. It is ancient, powerful, and unstoppable. Do not send more ships. Do not approach Earth. Do not investigate what happened here. Mark this entire sector as forbidden. Let the story of my fleet serve as a warning. We thought we were conquerors. We thought we were strong. We were wrong. He paused, watching another ship dissolve into particles. To any Vraxian who hears this message, learn from our arrogance. We followed a path of conquest and pride, and it led us to our destruction. Perhaps it is time for our species to choose a different path. Perhaps it is. The process took 12 hours. 12 hours for 500 warships and 200,000 warriors to cease existing. People around Earth watched the sky throughout the night. The Vraxian fleet glowed brighter as each ship dissolved, its matter converted to pure energy that fed the ancient system. Captain Jae-hee documented everything from the space station. His cameras captured images that would fill history books for generations. Ships coming apart in perfect silence. Warriors floating in space for brief moments before they too dissolved into light. An entire invasion force erased from existence. It's almost beautiful, Subin said quietly. She floated beside Jae-hee at the observation window. Is that wrong to say? I don't know, Jae-hee replied. It's horrible and beautiful at the same time. They came here to destroy us, but I still feel something. Sadness, maybe, or fear. If this can happen to them, what else is possible? On Earth, President Daeho stood in the command center. He had not slept since the crisis began. None of them had. They watched the screens as the last ships began to break apart. Among them was Thalen's flagship. Should we try to save him? Someone asked. He's still broadcasting. We could tell him we're trying to. We can't save him, General Tae-yang said. We can't stop this. All we can do is watch and learn. President Daeho nodded slowly. And make sure we understand what happened here, so it never happens again. Thalen Vex stood alone on his bridge. His crew had evacuated to the ship's center, hoping to buy a few more minutes of life. But Thalen remained at his post. He was the commander. He would be the last to fall. The bridge walls were dissolving. He could see through them now, see the metal becoming transparent as molecular bonds broke apart. Stars became visible through what had been solid hull. It was like standing in a bubble that was slowly popping. His communications console still worked. Barely. He sent one final message. To the humans of Earth, you did not choose this. You did not build this weapon, but you are its inheritors. Use this power wisely. The Karleth destroyed the civilization that created this system. We Vraxians destroyed the Karleth, and now this ancient weapon has destroyed us. Revenge breeds revenge. Violence breeds violence. Break the cycle. Be better than we were. The console dissolved. Then the floor beneath his feet. Thalen floated in space for a moment, surrounded by the dying pieces of his ship. He looked down at Earth one last time, then he felt it. The system touching him, breaking down his body at the molecular level. It didn't hurt. It felt like dissolving into water, like becoming part of something larger. His last thought was not of fear or anger. It was a simple observation: we were wrong about everything. Then Fleet Commander Thalen Vex, conqueror of 164 worlds, ceased to exist. The sky above Earth flashed brilliant blue-white. For 3 seconds, the light was so bright that people could see it through closed eyelids. Those watching directly had to look away. Satellites automatically dimmed their sensors to avoid damage. When the light faded, the Vraxian fleet was gone. No debris, no wreckage, no evidence that 500 massive warships had ever existed. Just empty space where they had been, and the anomalies were disappearing. The web of light that had surrounded Earth collapsed inward, flowing back toward the planet. Back to the structure in the Pacific Ocean. Energy levels dropped rapidly. Within minutes, the gravitational fields were gone. "It's over," Jiwan said. She and Hyunwoo stood outside the laboratory, looking up at a normal night sky. Normal stars, no alien fleet, no glowing web. Just Earth and its moon and the endless universe beyond, is it? Hyunwoo asked. "We still don't understand what happened." "Not really. We know the system was built by an extinct civilization. We know it was designed to kill the descendants of the Karleth, but we don't know how it works. We don't know if it will activate again. Minji is still analyzing the transmissions. Maybe she can find answers." Minji was indeed analyzing the transmissions. She had been working non-stop, drinking too much coffee and sleeping too little. But now, as the system powered down, she saw something new in the data, a final message. Not the repeating message of vengeance. This was different. This was directed at Earth, at humanity. She translated it slowly, checking each symbol multiple times to make sure she understood correctly. "To the species that inherits this world, we are the Tyloran. We built the system you have witnessed. We are long dead, but our weapon lives on. You did not create it. You did not ask for it, but now you must live with its consequences. We were destroyed by the Karleth Empire 3 million years ago. Before we died, we created this defense system and seeded it across many worlds. Each world was engineered to develop intelligent life. Each species was genetically designed to be compatible with our weapon. Each civilization would grow and flourish, never knowing they were part of a trap. The Karleth descendants would come eventually. They always do. They cannot resist conquest. They would find our seeded worlds one by one, following a trail we laid for them, and when they reached the final world, when their arrogance was at its peak, our weapon would destroy them completely. You humans are the 7th attempt. The first 6 species failed. They destroyed themselves before reaching the required technological level. Or they discovered the weapon too early and tried to remove it, or they were too peaceful and did not attract Vraxian attention. But you succeeded. You developed perfectly. You grew strong enough to maintain the weapon, but not strong enough to interfere with it, and you drew the Vraxians here to their final destruction. Now your purpose is fulfilled. The weapon is deactivating. We thank you for serving as its guardians, though you never knew that was your role. Go forth and build your own future. You are free of our design, free of our revenge, free to choose what you become. But know this: you were created as a weapon. Violence is in your nature. Aggression is in your genes. We made you that way so you would survive long enough to attract our enemies. What you do with that nature is now your choice. Will you follow the path of the Karleth and the Vraxians, conquering and destroying? Or will you choose something different? The universe watches and waits. Minji stared at the message for a long time. Then she picked up her phone and called President Daeho. "Sir, you need to see this. Everyone needs to see this." Within hours, the message was broadcast around the world. Every human on Earth learned the truth. They were not a natural species. They had been engineered, designed as bait and guardians for an ancient weapon. Their entire existence had been part of someone else's revenge plot. The reactions varied. Some people felt violated, learning that their species was artificial. Some felt relieved, understanding that the violence in human nature had an explanation. Some felt angry at the Tyloran for creating them as weapons. Some felt grateful to have served a purpose even unknowingly. In the United Nations building, World leaders gathered to discuss what this meant for humanity's future. "We were created to be violent," the French president said. "That's what the message tells us. Aggression is in our DNA. How do we overcome that?" "The same way we always have," President Deho replied. "Through choice. Through effort. Through deciding to be better than our worst impulses." So what if violence is in our genes? Love is too. Compassion is too. Curiosity is too. We get to choose which parts of our nature to follow. "But we were designed," someone argued. "We're not natural. We're artificial. How can we trust anything about ourselves?" General Taeyang stood up. "With respect, does it matter? Whether we evolved naturally or were engineered, we still exist. We still think. We still feel. We still choose our actions. The Tyloran created our bodies, but they didn't create our souls. Those are our own." "The general is right," Sang-woo said. He was a historian who had been called to consult on the crisis. "Every species has a history that shapes them. We thought our history was evolution on Earth. Now we know our history includes alien engineering. But we're still us. We still have the same hopes, the same dreams, the same capacity for both good and evil. The only difference is now we know why we have that capacity." President Deho looked around the room. "Then we move forward. We study the weapon system to make sure it's truly deactivated. We learn everything we can about the Tyloran and the Karleth. We share this knowledge with any other species we encounter, and we make a choice as a species about what we want to become." "What choice is that?" someone asked. "Do we follow the path of conquest like the Karleth and Vraxians? Or do we choose something different?" "We have the capability for violence. The Tyloran made sure of that. But we also have the capability for peace, for cooperation, for building instead of destroying. That choice is ours to make." In the months that followed, Earth sent messages to the stars, messages to the Vraxian Empire explaining what had happened, messages to any other species that might be listening, warning them about the Tyloran weapon systems, messages that said, "We know what we are. We know what we were created to be. And we choose to be something better." The Vraxian Empire sent no reply. They had marked Earth as forbidden space, just as Thalen had commanded. No Vraxian ship would ever approach the solar system again. But other species heard Earth's messages. They learned about the weapon that had destroyed an entire fleet without leaving a trace. They